Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Today we are going to discuss pleural effusion. It is defined as an abnormal collection of fluid in the pleural space. Before going to discuss the etiology, presentation, and investigation and the management of the pleural effusion, first we are going to discuss how the fluid within the pleural space is formed. As we have discussed in pneumothorax, the anatomy of the pleural space, it is a potential space actually between the two layers of the pleura. One is the visceral and other is the parietal. The fluid normally it is formed and accumulate in the uh, this potential space, and then it is at the same time it is reabsorbed from the lymphatics. So this picture demonstrates how the fluid is formed and how it is drained through the lymphatic. This is a visceral part of the pleura, and this one is the parietal part. And from here, the lymphatic drainage occurs. And these are the parietal vessels, and these are the pulmonic vessels. This shows the parenchyma of the uh, lungs. Pleural liquid appears to originate from the systemic vessels of both the parietal and the visceral pleural membrane. This one. And from these parenchymal vessels and this systemic vessels of the uh, thorax. The fluid comes from these vessels into the pleural space. The parietal vessels, these ones, the intercostal macrovessels, are thought to be of primary importance because they are closer to the pleural space and have a higher filtration pressure than the bronchial macrovessels of the visceral pleura. So the intercostal vessels, these vessels have a greater pressure, and they play a main role to form the fluid within the space. The pleural fluid is initially partially reabsorbed by the macrovessels. The remaining fluid exits through the pleural space via the lymphatic stomata in the parietal pleura. These are the stomata in the parietal pleura, from where the fluid enters into the lymphatics. Normal, Normally, fluid move at a rate of 0.01 ml per kg per hour from the pleural capillaries to the pleural space, and normally the pleural space contains 5 to 15 ml of the fluid. So this is the normal anatomy of the pleura, and how the normal fluid is formed and how the normal fluid is reabsorbed, and there is a just 15 to 5 to 15 ml of the fluid within this space. Now the physiology of the pleural effusion, how the pleural effusion actually occurs in this pleural space. So it is there are three mechanisms which leads to the formation of the increased fluid within the space. One is the increased production of the fluid in the setting of the numbered capillaries due to increased hydrostatic and decreased oncotic pressure. As you know, the fluid within the vessels is maintained by two forces. One is the hydrostatic pressure, and other is the oncotic pressure. Hydrostatic pressure is due to the plasma within the vessels, which try to push the fluid out of the vessels, while the oncotic pressure, that is due to the presence of the proteins within the plasma or blood, that tries to maintain the fluid within the vessel walls. So in case of a transudative fluid, transudative exudation, transudative pleural effusion, so there is an increased hydrostatic pressure and decreased oncotic pressure. While in case of exudative pleural effusion, there is an increased production of fluid due to abnormal capillary permeability. So there is a more fluid within the pleural space. Decreased lymphatic drainage also play a role in the formation of the exudative pleural effusion. Empyema, it is defined as the presence of the pus within the pleural space, and it is mostly due to the infections. And hemothorax is the presence of the blood within the pleural space when there is a when the bleeding occurs within the space. So this is the pathophysiology how the pleural effusion occurs. And now the clinical feature, how the patient present with the pleural effusion. The important symptoms are chest pain, that is a pleuritic in nature, in which the patient feel uh, pain in the chest that increases with the respiration and the movements. Similarly, patient feel dyspnea, that is the shortness of breath, dry cough most of the time, that is also called pleuritic cough. And at times there are specific symptoms of the underlying causes like fever in case of tuberculosis or pneumonia. Small pleural effusions are less likely to be symptomatic than the large pleural effusions. Clinical signs, when we examine the patient, um, the examination of the chest will show there is a shifting of the trachea towards the opposite side of the pleural effusion. And it occurs in case of massive effusion. There are definitely reduced chest movements on the affected side, reduced to overall chest expansion. Percussion shows stony dull note, and there is a reduced or absent breath sounds on the affected side of or the where the pleural effusion is present. There may be an area of bronchial breathing above the effusion due to the compression of the overlying lung. Vocal resonance will be reduced, and in case of the mild effusion or just pleurisy, there can be a pleural audible. These are the features with which the patient presents with pleural effusion. There are three, four types of pleural effusion. It is called hadothorax when the fluid is within the space, hemothorax when the blood is present in the pleural space, chylothorax when the callus is present in the pleural effusion, and the pyothorax when the pus is present in the pleural space, that is also called a empyema. Classification of the pleural effusion, it can be divided into two types, transudative and the exudative. Transudative is the ultrafiltration of the plasma, and it has a small group of etiologies, while the exudative, it is produced by the host of inflammatory condition and includes a large group of etiologies. Causes of transudative pleural effusion. The important or the most common cause is the heart failure. It is seen in 90% of the cases. There is the cirrhosis of the liver, nephrotic syndrome, mixed edema, atelectasis when it is an acute one, and constrictive pericarditis. Superior vena cava obstruction and pulmonary embolism also can lead to transudative type of pleural effusion. While exudative pleural effusion, it occurs in case of pneumonia, cancers, pulmonary embolism. You see, pulmonary embolism can lead to transudative and exudative both. Tuberculosis, uremia, infections like bacterial, viral, fungal, rectitial, and parasitic type of infection. Connective tissue disorders, asbestos, Meek syndromes, in which there's an association of the ovarian tumor with the presence of the pleural effusion. Pancreatic diseases and chronic atelectasis, calothorax, trapped lungs, sarcoidosis, uh, drug reactions, and post-myocardial injury syndromes. These are all the causes of exudative type of pleural effusion. Now the investigation, how to investigate a case of a pleural effusion. So the chest X-ray is the first investigation which we give an evidence that the patient is having pleural effusion. Number two is the thoracentesis. Uh, Ultrasound also helps, CT scan, and there are specific investigation to see the underlying causes. The chest X-ray. This is a chest X-ray showing the homogeneous opacity on this side of the lung. That is the left side of the lung, and it has an upward concavity with obliteration of the costophrenic angle and the cardiophrenic angle. You can compare these both sides. Over here you can see the angle is acute one. This is a cardiophrenic cardiophrenic angle, and this one is the casto, means ribs, casto and phrenic angle. So these two angles are clear over here, but on this side, this left side, there is an opacity that is a homogeneous one, and it has a upward concavity with obliteration of the castophrenic and the cardiophrenic angle. When these type of opacity or the findings are present on the chest X-ray, the most likely diagnosis will be a pleural effusion. When we have an X-ray like that, so we go for the first of all we will go for the ultrasound of the ultrasonography to confirm it. It will help to actually identify the loculated effusion and also differentiate the fluid from the fibrosis, and it also helps in identification of the thoracentesis, means pleural tap site, and it is easily available, and it's a non-invasive type of investigation. After having ultrasound and confirming that the patient is having pleural effusion, we will go for the thoracentesis. Thoracentesis means pleural tap. It, it is an invasive procedure to remove the fluid or the air from the pleural space. It is done for both diagnostic as well as therapeutic purpose, in which a cannula or hollow needle is carefully introduced into the thorax, generally after administration of a local anesthesia. The recommended location varies but depends upon the source. Some sources recommend the mid-axis line in the 8th, 9th, or the 10th intercostal space where possible. The procedure should be performed under the ultrasound guidance. That's why I have told you, okay, after having X-ray, we will go for the ultrasonography to confirm it. Okay, it's a pleural effusion. It's not other pathologies like consolidation, mass, or fibrosis. So it should be performed under the ultrasound guidance, uh, which has shown to reduce the complications. We will be actually we will prevent the complication. This is an illustration showing the space and how to tap the pleural fluid. Actually, after counting the ribs posteriorly, we actually put the needle under the ultrasound guidance after having taking a sterile measures. We introduced the needle on the upper part of the upper part. This is very important, on the upper part of the rib. Why? Because in the lower part of the rib there is a groove which contains a neurovascular bundle. You have to go above the uh, rib between in the intercostal space. So this is the thoracentesis or the pleural tap. After having pleural tap, we send the fluid to the laboratory for the analysis. First is the physical examination. It gives us some clue. When the color is yellow, one it shows it's transudative. When it is having a fascicular, so it shows a empyema. But sometimes exudative also shows the yellow color. Red color definitely when there is a blood in the pleural fluid, it will be a bloody, and the etiology will be malignancy, benign asbestos pleural effusion, post cardiac injury syndrome, permanent infraction in the absence of the trauma. White milky and the calothorax cholesterol effusion, brown when there is a long-standing blood effusion, a rupture of amoebic liver abscess, and black when there is a underlying cause is a aspergillus, and dark green when there is a palothorax, and yellow green in case of rheumatoid pleurisy. Similarly, pus, I has told you, okay, when there is a pus, it's called empyema, and it is viscous in case of mesothelioma. When there is a debris, it shows a rheumatoid pleurisy. Turbid shows the inflammatory exudate or lipotrophian. Yeah, and coy paste, it shows the liver abscess and color of odor of the fluid, and putrid fluid, it shows the, again anaerobic empyema. So these are the actually physical findings of the physical examination of the pleural fluid. There is a light criteria to differentiate between the transudative and the exudative type of pleural effusion. We take actually the protein of the pleural fluid as the protein of the serum, and we take the ratio. If the pleural fluid protein and serum protein ratio is more than 0.5, so it's called exudative. Similarly, when the pleural fluid LDH to serum LDH ratio is more than 0.6, so again it's exudative. And when the pleural fluid LDH is more than third of the upper normal limit of the serum LDH, then it is also called exudative. If any one of these criteria is present, we will label the pleural effusion as an exudative type. And if the ratios are less than zero point 0.5, these ratios are less than pleural fluid protein to serum protein ratio is less than zero point 0.5, then it will be a transudative type. Similarly, if this ratio is less than zero point 0.6, so it's called transudative. And if the this pleural fluid LDH is less than two-thirds of the upper limit of the serum LDH, then we will limit it as a transudative type of transudative type of pleural effusion. So this is called the Light's criteria to differentiate between transudative and exudative pleural effusion. Again, we will check the LDH, glucose level, lymphocyte count, and the mesothelial cells and adenosine level in the pleural effusion, and that will help in making the underlying etiologies of the pleural effusion. Suppose if the LDH is more than 1000 international units, so then we will think of empyema, malignancy, and rheumatoid arthritis. If the glucose is less than 30 milligram per deciliter, so it shows empyema. Differential diagnosis will be empyema and rheumatoid arthritis if the glucose is more than 30 to 50 milligram per deciliter. So differential diagnosis include lupus erythematosus, malignancy, and pulmonary tuberculosis. If the lymphocytes are more than 80%, it will show a patient may be having calothorax, lymphoma, rheumatoid arthritis, and pulmonary tuberculosis. If the lymphocytes are between 50 to 70%, then it shows malignancy. Mesothelial cells, if they are present more than 5%, it shows the tuberculosis is less likely and it may be a malignancy. Adenosine deaminase level, if it is more than 43 units per ml, so it supports the diagnosis of pulmonary tuberculosis. Ultrasound we have discussed, it helps in confirming the pleural effusion, it confirms the loculated effusion, it helps to differentiate from the fibrosis from mass or any consolidation. It also helps to identify the thoracentesis or pleural tap site, and it's a bedside technique. CT scan, it also is in differentiation of a lung consolidation versus pleural effusion, cystic or solid on peripheral abscess or loculated empyema, and also helps in identification of necrotic areas, pleural thickening, nodules, masses, and if there is a mass, so extension of the tumor or the mass. This is the chest CT of the pleural effusion. You see this one is the whole is the lung, and this is the main bronchus, and on this side this is the lung, and this shows the pleural effusion. This is a mild to moderate one, and this is a moderate to massive pleural effusion. You can see this whole is the pleural effusion on the chest CT. Management treatment includes the treatment of the underlying causes. Suppose the patient is having pleural effusion due to pulmonary tuberculosis, so you have to put the patient on ITT. If it is due to pneumonia, so you have to treat the pneumonia. If it's a transudative type due to the CCF, so we have to treat the congestive cardiac failure. Therapeutic thoracentesis, it is done in cases of large pleural effusion and the patient is severely discerning, or if the underlying cause is not treatable like advanced malignancy. Tube thoracostomy is our chest tube is inserted when there is an empyema and pleurodesis to treat the recurrent pleural effusion. Pleurodesis is a medical procedure in which the pleural space is artificially obliterated. It involves the adhesion of the two layers of the pleura. That is the visceral and the lateral layer. The pleurodesis is performed to prevent the recurrence of the pneumothorax or the recurrent pleural effusion It can be done chemically or surgically. So this is the treatment of the pleural vein. Uh, Thank you very much. If you have any query or questions, so you can